Happy Wednesday. It's a pleasure to have your company. Welcome to tonight's broadcast with me, Gloria Mutisi. Across the country, people aged 40 and above were targeted in the latest general COVID-19 vaccination drive as the government of Rwanda continues to protect the population from the deadly pandemic. From Gatsibo and Ngoma in the east through Huye in the south to Nyamasheke and Rubavu, thousands of citizens received their first dose while others took their second jab of COVID-19 vaccine on Wednesday. The recipients of the vaccine, especially the elderly, say it was valuable for them because they were fearful of being killed by the plague as they were in the vulnerable groups.
It was long overdue because we've been waiting for the vaccination for a while because we were registered for the vaccination a while ago. It will help me overcome the pandemic as opposed to how it would have affected me if I wasn't vaccinated.
Just like the first dose, I am happy to receive the second dose of the vaccine. I have not had any problems. It will protect me from this deadly virus.
I was afraid of contracting the virus before being vaccinated. You understand that the virus devastates the old, but now I'm lucky to be vaccinated.
I thank God I've been vaccinated, and that protects me from the severe effects of the virus. Now, still on the COVID-19 vaccination campaign across the country, earlier this evening we caught up with Dr. Sebensen Zimana, who elaborated more on how the campaign is going and the status of the pandemic in the country a few days after the lockdown was lifted.
Yeah, so the vaccination campaign is actually has started, I would say, yesterday in Kigali. It's continuing in other provinces, especially the district that have been most affected by this virus. Generally, we're in lockdown, like the city of Kigali a few weeks ago. So we've started with, of course, the people who are most at risk and those 40 years and above in the city of Kigali. In the provinces, we are also looking at those categories. Most people who have some comorbidities. We're also looking at how we can protect pregnant women because we've seen that when they get this virus, they are highly affected. So as we get more vaccines, more doses, we are actually distributing so quickly. It's actually interesting when you see vaccines are coming just after the 3 weeks lockdown, and we can protect as many people as possible and as fast as possible.
Certainly, that is good news. And to hear that also pregnant women are among the categories. Is it all pregnant women or pregnant women that are more at risk?
Yeah, of course, we can't cover everyone at the same time, and we are prioritizing generally the women in the second and third trimester generally. But as we get more vaccines and as we assess more on the science about other groups, we shall expand more. But as per our guidelines currently, after the 12 weeks of pregnancy, we prioritize all women who are pregnant and willing to take these vaccines.
Absolutely. Can you tell us how much vaccines that you currently have, and is the momentum going to continue like this?
Yeah, it looks like we're getting different batches of vaccines. Doses are coming. A few days ago, we received more than 200,000 doses that are currently being distributed across the country. Every 2 weeks, we are receiving batches of vaccines. Initially, they were quite small numbers. Now we see the increase, hundreds of thousands. So this trend looks going to keep increasing. And as the vaccines land, our principle is that we don't keep in the fridges, but rather we distribute as quick as possible.
And based on your assessment as RBC, where does the incidence and transmission rate stand currently, especially after lifting the lockdown? Is it too early to assess the situation?
We've started to see some good trends. Actually, yesterday and today, we were observing the data very closely. There are some positive news that are coming out, especially with the city of Kigali. the incidence rate seems to be declining. The hospitalizations, the people who have been actually admitted daily also seems to reduce at an interesting rate. But it's too early to say that we are on a positive trend, so we have to be very careful. We have to actually to help this trend to be better than it could be. But it shows that the lockdown that we went through has helped. And we start to observe this in our own statistics. Let's continue to observe that in other provinces. We know there are some sectors currently under lockdown because the incidence was quite high. So we'll keep a close eye.
Very briefly before I let you go, Dr. Sabe, recently the Rwanda Biomedical Center announced that effective 9th August, the COVID rapid test cost will be not more than 5,000 Rwanda francs, but that is subject to different interpretations according to some people. So could you perhaps clarify for us, is it less than 5,000 or 5,000? And then secondly, will this also apply to government hospitals, because the announcement said it applies to private clinics?
Yes, thank you. It's actually another positive trend that we've seen on the global market of these rapid diagnostic tests. The overall cost has reduced. Here in Rwanda, also, we're going to get the cheaper test, actually better test and cheaper tests. It's an interesting shift. In private clinics, because these tests are being sold in private clinics, but in public facilities, there's no cost for that, for symptomatic people and those who have been actually in contact with positive cases. So 5,000 from 10,000 is a good move, and we will keep monitoring the global market and also the new tests that will be coming and see how the cost can go down, as well as the precision, the accuracy of the tests that we are getting into our lab network. So 5,000 is the maximum. We'll be very happy if these clinics and also those ones that are importing these tests can even sell at a lower cost. What interests us as an institution, but also as a sector, is when we see more people getting for tests and without paying more money.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Sabe. Moving ahead, over the past 7 years, Rwanda and the Central African Republic enjoyed warm relations, largely due to Rwanda's role in restoring peace and security in the war-torn Central African nation, among other common areas of interest. Ahead of the highly anticipated visit of the CAR President, President Faustin Archange Touadera, Ethan Tashibia revisits the bilateral relations between the two countries.
The bilateral relations between Rwanda and the Central African Republic have been on a positive trajectory since 2014, when Rwanda first sent troops to the United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in the Central African Republic, abbreviated as MINUSCA. Rwanda is the third largest contributor of military and police forces in the country through the UN peacekeeping mission in the Central African nation. The Rwandan army at the time helped restore security in various parts of the city Bangui, including protection of the country's president, Catherine Samba Panza, and later on the Rwandan forces provided security to the current and democratically elected president, Faustin Archange Touadera. In October 2019, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, visited Central African Republic, and he was praised for Rwanda's contribution to helping Central African Republic restore peace and security. At the time, President Paul Kagame was presented with the highest decoration, Grande Croix de Renaissance, and a symbolic key to the city of Bangui as the city's honorary resident.
Both countries have endured difficult histories. There is no doubt about that. However, no nation is forever hostage to its past. There is always a choice that can be made collectively to build a future in which every citizen has a sense of dignity and belonging.
During President Kagame's visit to Bangui, Rwanda and Central African Republic signed bilateral agreements in the field of investment, especially in electricity and mining, among others. In 2020, when the Central African Republic was planning to go into a general election, including the presidential polls, rebels opposed to Faustin Touadéra's regime threatened to prevent the civil exercise from happening, but through the security agreement and at the invitation of the CAL government, Rwanda sent a special force to Central Africa, and the Central Africans voted in peace and security. President Faustin Archange Touadéra took the lead in thanking the Rwandan forces for their role in smooth running of the election.
Je voudrais également remercier très sincèrement le président Kagame.
I would like to express my sincere gratitude to President Kagame and the government for heeding to our call. We requested for security reinforcement in times of crisis when we had to ask for the support from the fraternal countries to help us in safeguarding our electoral process. That was very important in the democracy of our country. The troops came and found other Rwandan troops, and I told them that my security was under their control. And I'm very happy with that. I also thank the special forces that have been helping to restore security, especially in the outskirts of Bangui. These Rwandan forces have maintained the security of the city of Bangui, helped the people especially to go and elect their leaders freely. We are very happy with that. They are doing a good job.
D'aller librement choisir leurs dirigeants. Nous sommes satisfaits, il y a du bon travail.
The contribution of the Rwandan forces to the Central African Republic has given the citizens of the Central African Republic hope and renewed confidence in the future of their country.
La vie ici est bien sécurisée par les forces de la MINUSCA, surtout l'armée rwandaise là.
Security here is well maintained by MINUSCA, especially the Rwandan armed forces. When the Rwandan army is present, we feel safe because the militant groups are afraid of them. When militant groups see Rwandan forces, they are frightened, which makes us at peace. They built us energy-saving cooking stoves in Bungu and Bonu, provided school supplies to PK3 students.
Scolaire aux élèves de l'école d'urgence idéale au PK3.
Je jette des fleurs sur ce contingent-là, le contingent rwandais, précisément.
A lot of respect for the Rwandan army, but especially for their president Paul Kagame, who continued to be by our side while we were having problems and helped us find solution. A lot of respect for the Rwandan army, and may they keep up the good job for restoring peace. We are brothers and sisters. We work together for peace, and that is our common goal as Africans.
C'est l'Afrique qui sera gagnée, quoi.
The good relations between Rwanda and the Central African Republic have also led some Rwandans to commit to investing in the Central African nation, and they have since built strong people-to-people relations with the citizens of the Central African Republic.
Tumeze neza ubu ntabwo batugifite turakora mu mutekano turakunzwe.
We are doing well here. We are not afraid of anything. We are loved here, including the president, because of the hard work and discipline of the Rwandan forces.
Bituma noneho igihugu turushaho kubona amanota.
Abanyarwanda bahageze ibintu byunutse nta kigikorwa.
Before Rwandan forces arrived here, the situation was very intense. But when they got here, things got better. Peace was restored, and we can now walk and work freely. That improved the people-to-people relations between the citizens of Central Africa and Rwandans living here. The Rwandan forces reassured citizens of peace, and here we are all safe now.
Barajyaho bo bahunga babahumuriza bati nimuhumure nta kibazo. Turongera turatekana.
Good relations between Rwanda and Central African Republic have been further strengthened by Rwanda Air's launch of the Kigali-Bangui flight in February 2021, which will further widen the gates of cooperation between Rwanda and the Central African Republic. Reporting for RwandaTV News, Ethan Tashobia.
Now, this Wednesday, the Rwandan Parliament concluded its third ordinary term of the year 2020-2021, concluding the third ordinary term of the Senate. Augustine Iyamuremye, the Senate President, says that August House has continued to implement its special mandate to oversee the implementation of the principles outlined in Articles 10 and of the provisions of Articles 56 and 57 of the Constitution, and has done so in all its activities. He said that the Senate had approved the appointment of 3 leaders and that the Senate General Assembly would update various reports, including a report on the review of the Auditor General's report on the audit for the year that ended on June 30th, 2019. The Senate commended the state budget for 2021-2022 and forwarded its views to the Chamber of Deputies. On the side of the Chamber of Deputies, the Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies, Mukabalisa Donatil, said the term was marked by a lot of work, mainly related to the review of urgent bills. She said that concerning the task of enacting legislation this season, the Chamber of Deputies approved the basis of 28 bills, 23 laws were passed as well, and some of which were sent to promulgation and improvement before it was sent out, including that it is still being considered by the permanent commissions. To understand and monitor the activities and the functioning of the government, the two ministers presented to the General Assembly verbal answers to the issues raised in some of the leading ministries, and the Minister of Education provided verbal and written answers to the issues at the University of Rwanda in Finance and Property Management and Technology. Also this quarter, the Prime Minister briefed both chambers of Parliament on the government's activities on the development of vocational and technical schools. As provided for in Article 72 of the Constitution of the Republic of Rwanda, the meetings of each chamber of Parliament shall be convened during regular and extraordinary terms. These quarters take place on the dates provided for in the organic law governing the functioning of each chamber of Parliament. To other health matters, 100 years ago, a tuberculosis vaccine was discovered. Now, medical experts point out that its delivery has reduced the number of deaths caused by the disease, while the public has also come to understand the severity of it. At the Chinyinya Health Center in Gasabo district, we found mothers who had come to vaccinate their children. They explained to us how they've come to understand the importance of vaccines, including the TB vaccine given to the newborns. They tell us that vaccinating children at an early age protects them from many diseases and grants them a healthy life. And so we constantly look out for when the next vaccination day is for the child so that it's done in a timely manner. My baby got the tuberculosis vaccine, which I believe will prevent them from getting the disease and help them live a healthy life. At least 250 children have been given the tuberculosis vaccine at this health facility in the last month, according to Kabe Gasoline, in charge of the vaccination program at the Chinyinya Health Center. A vaccine is a shield of life. When a child is vaccinated, they're given a shield for life, and they will have a healthy life. Even though they get sick, their immune system is strong, and so they won't become critical or die of the disease, as opposed to someone who is not vaccinated at all. The tuberculosis vaccine is one of the 13 vaccines provided in Rwanda in the regular immunization program. It's now been 100 years since it was first given to children born across the world. The vaccine, known as the BCG vaccine, was invented by two French scientists and was first administered in Rwanda in 1969. Dr. Byiringiro Rusisibo from the tuberculosis department at the Rwanda Biomedical Center says that out of the more than 350,000 babies born every year in Rwanda, more than 99% are vaccinated against tuberculosis. Tuberculosis mostly affects the lungs, but sometimes it can affect your blood too and other parts of the body such as the brain, spine, and kidneys. When someone that is vaccinated gets the bacteria that causes tuberculosis, they won't be as critical to even the point of death. Although the TB vaccine has helped protect the lives of more than 1 billion people worldwide, 1.4 million people succumb to tuberculosis every year, according to the World Health Organization. According to this institution, another vaccine has been developed to support the current BCG vaccine, something Dr. Byiringiro believes is good news, especially for the adults. It's not that the BCG vaccine is not effective. It would be nice to have another vaccine that can be given to adults in order to protect them against TB. Because even though children are vaccinated upon birth, it's possible that in adulthood, someone can still get tuberculosis. Although it does protect against the severity of the disease, such as getting to your brain, it doesn't take away the possibility of getting the disease. As people grow older, their immunity lowers and they can get tuberculosis. In Rwanda, treatment for tuberculosis began in 1954 and patients are treated at no cost. In 2019 to 2020, more than 5,800 tuberculosis patients were diagnosed in Rwanda, and more than 100 are currently suffering from severe tuberculosis, and the disease kills at least 600 people in a year in the country. In other news, officials from the Rwanda Energy Group promised that Rwanda's goal of connecting all households to electricity by 2024 will be achieved, even though the COVID-19 pandemic has slowed down the implementation of this program. Innocent Mugabo now reports.
Manishimwe Safinadin is a resident of Jabana sector in Buliza village. Here they haven't yet been able to access electricity. She works as a tailor and only works during the night because she doesn't have enough light at night. Besides, Manishimwe would have liked buying a modern electricity-powered sewing machine, but connectivity issues have barred her from such a luxury.
You should advocate for us so we get electricity so that some of us can be able to work at night. Our children also find it difficult to do preps. When it darkens, everything comes to a standstill.
If we would get electricity, one would start up a salon. But now it requires us to walk long distances in search for one. We cannot also own fridges.
In case of emergencies, it becomes a challenge for us, and if it is work, people can't reach you due to failure to find where to charge our phones from.
In Bumbogo sector in Gasawa district, residents of Shango village say that as soon as they got access to electricity, it drastically changed their lives. Now, like me in my youthful stage, I frequently use the internet, whereby I'm able to even do business with it. Now you cannot differentiate us from those that live in the urban areas. And the good thing, it is also affordable, so everything was made easy for us. In the 2020-2021 budget, about 178,000 households were connected to the national grid as Rwanda and the rest of the world was being threatened by the COVID-19 pandemic and still continues to affect various economic sectors. Ronways, CEO of the Rwanda Energy Group, says that despite the current situation, Rwanda's goal of providing electricity to all households will be achieved.
We have a target to reach 100% universal access by 2024. We will reach it. There is no excuse, no reason that will stop us to reach it. We are very committed, and the teams are working very hard. And even though it is not easy during COVID, it is not easy when we are under lockdown and we cannot continue all our projects, but we are trying to catch up, and we will succeed to meet the target.
Professor Tombola Gustav, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Kigali and an economist, says that electricity is critical when it comes to rapidly changing the lives of communities.
Nakora business yo gusudira nuba ku inzu ye arabona aho agurira urugi hafi.
Electricity makes business easy, which also generates revenue for the country, hence boosting its economy. So it is a win-win situation. Ronways, the CEO of Rwanda Energy Group, says that he is confident that more than 670 billion Rwandan francs needed to ensure that all households will have access to electricity by the year 2024 will also be available.
A full budget that we need for all our projects in generation, in the network, transmission and distribution, and access to connect all people is $1.5 billion. Out of it, we already got significant amount of around 900 million. And you are correct that we still have a gap of 600, you mentioned 670. And we are still working on it. We have very good partners, development partners, commercial companies, etc. That we are sure that by 2024, we still have 3 years, we will succeed to bridge this gap of budget.
Rwanda needs 670 billion Rwandan francs so that 35% of households without electricity will get it by 2024. More than 1.7 million households, equivalent to 65% of all households in the country, currently have access to electricity. 1,268,000 households, equivalent to 47.2%, received electricity from the national grid, and another 482,000, which makes 17.8%, received electricity from other grids, including solar energy. The country currently produces 235.6 megawatts of electricity, while by 2024, 556 megawatts will be needed for all households in Rwanda to get access to electricity. Innocent Mugabo, RTV News.